Hi, this is Eileen Taggart with the Taggart Team and eXp Realty, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to go through something that's interesting to both sellers and buyers. What happens in Arizona when you open escrow? What is the actual process of buying a home? Stay tuned and find out. So whether you're selling or buying in Arizona, you probably need to know what happens once you open escrow. So what I'd like to do is give you my interpretation of the contract and the process and explain what I call the 3 hurdles of the Arizona contract. Let's say you've negotiated, everybody's happy, you open escrow. The first thing that happens is that the buyer has an inspection period. It can be 10 days, it can be 15 days, that's negotiated on the contract. During inspection, it's the buyer's right and responsibility to conduct any and all inspections that are important to the buyer. So for example, you never say to a seller, hey, check that out and get back to me, ever. So as a buyer's agent, it's my responsibility to make sure that we have a home inspection, termite inspection, radon if the buyer wants it, anything. Let's say we've conducted all of our inspections. And now, let's say the home inspector found a couple of maybe possibly big ticket items. As the buyer's agent, it's my responsibility to get a contractor out there, identify the actual problem and bid it. So basically the buyer has to have all of the information that they need about the home in writing from a verifiable source. So that's what we do during inspection. Once we have a list of items that we want the seller to fix or repair, the buyer needs to submit those items in writing by midnight on the last day of inspection period. And in Arizona, there's a form called the BINSR, Buyer's Inspection Notice and Seller's Response, that we use. Okay, so we write it all up, we get it in on time to the seller. What's really important to know is up until the very moment we submit those items in writing, the buyer can cancel for any reason. So this is why inspection period is paramount. This is when the rubber meets the road. Now the buyer has submitted those items to the seller. The seller has 5 days to respond. Why? Well, there could be a bunch of things on the BINSR. They could be big ticket items. That gives the seller time to get bids, identify the problems, get their own information. Let's say the seller says yes to everything. Yep, I'm going to repair every single thing you asked for. Once that is given back to the buyer in writing, it's a bound contract. The buyer and the seller are done with inspection. The buyer cannot cancel over any kind of inspection item. What if the seller says no to even one item? What does the contract say? Contract says that the buyer can elect to cancel. So again, the inspection period often becomes a time, again, of negotiation. The buyer has 5 days to respond to the seller's response. So we have, let's say, a 10-day inspection period. The seller has 5 days to respond. If the seller says no to even one item and the buyer can cancel, the buyer can take up to 5 days to do that. So really, it's in everybody's interest to get inspections done quickly, efficiently, get all the information, do your responses, because 20 days into an escrow is a long time. Let's say we get their inspection, everybody's happy, everybody's signed off, we're moving forward. The next hurdle is the appraisal. The lender orders an appraisal if it's a finance deal. If the appraisal comes back at contract price, so let's say we have a $700,000 contract price. If the appraisal comes back at $700,000 or higher, all good, everybody's happy, no further negotiations. Well, what if the appraisal comes back at like $695 or $690 or anything under $700? What does the contract say? Contract says that the buyer has 5 days to cancel. It doesn't say that the buyer has to pay the contract price if it's higher or that the seller has to reduce the price to the appraised value. Contract says nothing. It says you have 5 days to cancel. What happens? Sellers and buyers negotiate. Can we split it? Can you come down? Can you come up? If you can reach an agreement within those 5 days and the buyer doesn't cancel, voila, you're on to the next hurdle. If you can't reach an agreement, the buyer can cancel and get their earnest money back. Hurdle number 3, the finance contingency. Let's say we've gone through inspection, the appraisal came back. Within this whole time, the buyer didn't buy a new truck, open up 5 new credit cards, declare bankruptcy, or change something really super duper important in their financial picture. So let's say the buyer's doing whatever they're supposed to do. Well, at the very end, if the bank, for some reason, final underwriting looks at the file and says, yeah, we're not gonna finance this loan, sorry, the buyer can cancel and get their earnest money back because their loan has been declined. These are the 3 main hurdles of the Arizona contract. Good real estate agents are managing the whole entire process. When you're a buyer's agent, you're handling the inspections, you're talking about what repairs to ask for. When you're the seller's agent, you're preparing your seller for inspection period. As a listing agent, I do something different, but that'll be a different video. If you get buyer's requests, you talk about the viability of their request, whether you think the buyer's going to cancel. So you're managing expectations and the realities of these hurdles through the whole process. The one you really can't control is the loan. If for some reason the bank declines the loan, really there's nothing you can do. And honestly, that happens very rarely. If you're thinking of buying and you want a buyer's agent who's kind of negotiated all of this for kind of a long time, feel free to reach out. If you're thinking of selling and you want a listing agent who understands every aspect of the buying process and can help manage your sale so that it is entirely stress-free, also reach out.